Hello everyone, welcome back. As you all know, we were doing the poem The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. We had completed the first two sections of it, The Burial of the Dead, Game of Chess, and also the third section, The Fire Sermon. And today we are here with the fourth section, Death by Water, which is the shortest section of this poem. So let us begin. And now in this section, the poet tells the story of Phlebas, a young and a handsome sailor who was drowned after leading a business career, and he was caught in a whirlpool and passed through various stages. And there is no chance of rebirth for the sailor who represents the modern man because there is no desire to follow spiritual values, and the rejection of higher values is the cause of the inevitable decay of modern civilization. And death by death by water, death by water. Sorry guys, just a minute. In this section, the death by water, we have two associations, one from Shakespeare, The Tempest, and other from the ancient Egyptian myth of the god of fertility. And the death of Phlebas, the Greek sailor, is an example of people who devote themselves to worldly pursuits, and their youth and strength ultimately will be consumed by death. Also, mind you, there was a reference of this Phoenician sailor in the section 1, The Burial of the Dead, if you remember. Madame Sosostris, that famous clairvoyant who was known to be the wisest woman in Europe, where she had a wicked pack of cards. Here, said she, is your card, the drowned Phoenician sailor. Right, if you remember? So, again, we have in this section the death by water, Phlebas the Phoenician, a fortnight dead. So, let us begin now. Phlebas the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. Now, what we see here, the Phoenician sailor was very much acquainted with the cry of seabird and the tides of the ocean. Gulls means the sea fowls, seabirds, and this sailor was very much acquainted with the cry of the seagulls and the tides of the ocean and the profit and loss because he was a businessman. So he was caught in the whirlpool of activity and accounting. Excuse me. And but after his death, these things were of no significance to him. A current under sea picked his bones in whispers. As his bones moved on the waves and clashed, they seemed to whisper among themselves. As he rose and fell, he passed the stages of his age and youth, entering the whirlpool. As I said, there are two references here. One is to the song of Ariel sung to Prince Ferdinand after his father's death. Full fathom 5, the father lies, the drowned body has suffered a sea change into something rich and strange. And the second reference, according to Miss Weston, is to the ancient ritual in Egypt where an effigy of the fertility god was thrown into sea at Alexandria to indicate his death, and the head was carried by the waves and was followed towards Byblos, where it was salvaged and worshipped as the god reborn. Now, there is a contrast between the drowning of the effigy and the drowning of Phlebas. There is no rebirth in the case of the Phoenician sailor, Phlebas, because he has wasted his life in worldly pursuits, and salvation is possible only for those who pursue the things of the Spirit and who have faith in God. So, in this line, he passed the stages of his age and youth, entering a whirlpool The reference is to the immersion of the effigy of god Osiris, who was a fertility god and who passed the various stages of life in the reverse order. That is, he gets old as he rises and falls on the waves, then he becomes a boy, and finally he is reborn. And as I said, there is no rebirth in the case of the sailor because he has wasted his life in materialistic things. Okay, so now further, Gentile or Jew, O you who turned the wheel and looked to windward, consider Phlebas, who was once handsome and tall as you. Now, this is a warning to all mankind, both Jews and non Jews, Gentile or Jew, to beware of the materialistic life and worldly pursuits like turning the wheel and looking to the direction of the wind. And consider Phlebas means reflect on the end and the doom of Phlebas, the worldly merchant. The idea is that the people who devote themselves to worldly pursuits and accumulation of riches will be punished and drowned in whirlpool of death. Their youth, strength, and wealth will not be of any use to them. Deliverance from death can be achieved only through pursuit of moral values and practice of love of God. And in this section, we see water is a symbol of purification and rebirth. Phlebas, the Phoenician sailor, is an example of the modern businessman caught in the whirlpool of activity and accounting and profit and loss. Still, he meets its death, which means death is inevitable. Even in spite of all his riches, he could not escape death. Okay, and there is no rebirth for him because his life has no element of moral values. And this section ends with an address and warning to the reader to consider Phlebas, who was once handsome and tall as you, which means no one can escape death. Death is inevitable and it comes to all. Therefore, we should have faith in God. We should have faith in God, and we should not reject higher values, because only then we can get closer to God, and salvation is possible only then when we have faith in God. So friends, this is all. Hope you liked it. If you like my videos, do like, share and subscribe. Feel free to comment and feel free to give suggestions also. So this was all for today. Thank you so much.